Hey, everybody. Crush Nation team call Monday night. So excited to be speaking with you guys tonight while Jamie and Kim are in Bora Bora. I will open it up if anybody wants to kick it off with recognition.
I will. So I want to shout out my coach, Laura Lee. She has been with me for about 2 years, but January 1st decided she wanted to start coaching, and she went Emerald last week. So I just wanted to give her a massive shout out. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'll go. I just wanted to give a shout out to my new coach, Kelly Gallagher. She joined last week and she has already signed up a client. So way to go, Kelly. So proud.
Thank you. Couldn't have done it without your guidance.
Thanks.
Anybody else? All right, well, without further ado, if nobody has any other recognition, I will dive right into, can someone turn the captioning on? What do I hit? Live transcript? Enable auto transcription? Is that correct, Marnie? Oh, I think so, because I see that thing. Yeah, okay. All right, so tonight's topic is 5 steps to building a more authentic business. I had some other topic, and then Jess asked me, she's like, is this still your topic? And I just said, I'm like, put it as this new one, like these 5 steps, because I always find if I do something like 5 steps or 3 ways or the number 1 reason, it really helps me just build a framework for what I even want to talk about. So I said 5 steps before I even had them, before I even sat down to think about this call, because it really just helped me sit down and think about how I'm being authentic in my own business and really nail that down to 5 things and 5 tangible sort of topics that we can talk about together on this call tonight. I don't anticipate being an hour, and we started at 5:03 instead of 5:20 when Kim's on the call. So I will stay on and do a Q&A. If anybody has any questions, I am so happy to answer anything and everything and pour into you guys for the entire hour. But tonight's going to be reflective for you, I think. And it might feel a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit hard, because the best, most successful way to run this business is often the most uncomfortable. Most common error I see in new coaches or even seasoned coaches that aren't finding success is that they're doing the same things that all the other Beachbody coaches are doing. They're showing up, they're sharing their stories, they're sharing their nutrition, they're sharing their containers, they're sharing their morning PD, and that's it, right? They're apologizing when they're gone for, 3/4 of the day when really no one fucking noticed, right? They're just doing all those normal things that network marketing people do, that Beachbody coaches do, but that's not gonna get us to the destination we all are envisioning, right? I think a lot of us on this call, and I'm going to speak tonight to the dreamer, to the woman that really wants to make something out of this, right? A lot of us are just especially in the beginning, in the first bunch of years, it's like, oh, I really hope this works out. I really think I can make something of this if I just stick with it, if I just keep going. I really hope this turns into something, right? But I think the danger is when we're going through the motions without some intention and without enough authenticity, that I think you'll be disappointed when you lift your head in a couple of years and it's not what you envisioned. So I want you to tonight really think about your own personal journey in each of these 5 areas, and maybe a game plan for each area that you can implement in your business. So the first thing, the first step to being more authentic in your business that I want to talk about is stop doing these programs on autopilot. This has been something that I have been enlightened with most recently, and is like hitting me in the face every single day. I know how to do these programs. And guys, I can get on a call with you and yell at you about your journey as your job and inspire you, and you'd all get off this call and you'd all be on 21-day fix hardcore for 21 days and see results. I know that call. And I know how to inspire coaches to do that, right? That's not this. This is almost the opposite. This is, catch this, you know how to do 21-day fix. Everybody knows how to do 21-day fix if they read the manual. It's not actually a difficult program to follow. It takes some follow through. It takes some determination and some willpower to really do it. And if you haven't done it a little bit, shame on you. You should. You're a coach. Unless you're brand new, then that's your calling. Go do it. But here's the thing. Stop doing these programs on autopilot means like it's time to actually change your lifestyle. It's time to learn and increase your education and your awareness and like your actual habits, right? For me, I woke up like three and a half years into this business, and I started to get really negative in my head. And I started to think things like, man, I've almost been coaching 4 years. I'm still yo-yoing. I feel like by constantly thinking about these containers, it's like almost creating diet culture in my life. And I started to really like get a little bit like, I don't know, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop thinking about like, oh shoot, is coaching actually like creating more of an eating issue in my life because I'm just constantly thinking about the dang containers, you know? And I just sat with that thought for a little while. And then I started to have some things come to me, like, just like, you know, when someone says something and you're like, oh man, like that was said for a reason, you know, some things happened in my life. And I really realized that like, I've just been doing these programs on autopilot instead of truly learning about my nutrition, about lifestyle, about my mindset surrounding this. And so that's been my mission. That's what I've changed this year, is instead of doing these programs on autopilot, I'm trying to really think about who Courtney is in terms of my nutrition. Because, and this really hit home with me, there's two sort of types of mindsets when it comes to our own growth, right? It's like you either have that fixed mindset where it's like, I'm eating healthy this week because it's going to help me lose weight, or the growth mindset where it's like, I'm a healthy eater. I eat healthy because that feels good to me, right? So it's like, do you believe that you could actually be a healthy eater? Do you believe that you could actually love fitness? Do you believe that you could actually wake up one day at 5 a.m. and realize like that's what you love to do, instead of just going through the motions and doing the steps? Instead of following 21-day fix for 21 days because you're going to lose weight, because you're a coach, because you need results, what if you actually started to love whole grains and started to realize that dairy affected you in certain ways, so you started avoiding it for that reason instead of the fact that you only get one blue every single day? What if you started to try out some different products that might actually really serve you, instead of eating the same beach bar, for example, for 17 years? Another thing that I want to share with you guys is to give you permission to try other things. Like, I love Beachbody. I bleed Beachbody blue, but I've realized recently that like there's a fine line between only ever showing Beachbody stuff can almost be a little bit Kool-Aid-y, right? It's not relatable to your audience. You're going to enroll someone and she's not just going to only want to use Beachbody products forever. Like, I remember when I signed up as a coach and I saw Danielle Natoni app, like showing her these bars that she was eating, and she's like, code Natoni20. And I remember saying to Erin, like, did you see she's advertising bars that aren't Beachbody? And Aaron was like, I know. And now, I'm like 4 years later, I'm like, oh, she's fucking human and she doesn't want to choke down the same fucking beach bar for 10 years straight, right? Like, it's okay for us to grow a little bit in our journey. And I think even just that simple beach bar example was keeping me really in this like box of autopilot, you know? So I want you to, in terms of your journey, in terms of these programs with your nutrition, evaluate where you're at. Have you made any true lifestyle changes, or are you choking these programs down? I really want you to think about that, because those changes are what's going to be shown over time. Those are the changes that are going to inspire people truly. Like, I hated waking up at, I have people message me all the time, what time do you go to bed in order to wake up that early? And I'm like, oh, 9:30, it's like, oh, still, it's so early. I'm like, yeah, but I started at 6 a.m. in 2018 and it's 2022. And now I'm at 4:45 a.m. And how I did that? Every week or every 2 weeks, I would move it up by 5 minutes, move it up by 10 minutes, right? I wasn't getting enough time. I was still chasing the day with my toddlers waking up, but I didn't just all of a sudden do it. So what am I doing in my nutrition journey? I'm switching to gluten-free bread. My farts stink. It's time to do something. I'm almost 40, like the jig's up. Let's figure it out, right? So I'm going to start with little things that are actually really incredible, healthy steps in my own nutrition journey that have nothing to do with a food list on Portion Fix, only to do with Courtney, right? Because those might be some things that resonate with my audience, and it's going to help me really show up in a more authentic way than showing the same things over and over again for 4 years. I think also, guys, for anyone that's been doing these programs a lot longer, like, the food list is limited to things that you enjoy, right? And I was just getting so bored. Like, I was eating the same taco seasoning, brown rice. Like, I couldn't do it anymore. And so my mission is a new recipe every single week. We share the mompreneur recipes with the sisterhood. And I know, Kim shares tons of others, like Etsy has tons. And all those recipes have the Portion Fix, have To Be Mindset stuff at the bottom, right? And they're very lifestyle driven. A lot of them have those like blues in it that you might be like, oh, but I don't have any left. Well, then like just shift that mindset. If you have a blue and a half today and none tomorrow, like start to figure out truly how you can find this, like, and I'm obsessed with this term right now, food freedom in your life, using Portion Fix as your base, but grow on it, guys. We got to grow on it. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, second step to being more authentic in your business is to make your shit shine. And what I mean by that is that, again, I'm going to talk to that woman that's starting to coach and is like doing all the things, right? Like posting 3 workout slides, sharing my menu, like join my group, but not really being vulnerable enough to share anything, like any struggle or maybe any failure, right? Like maybe you set a goal in your business and you didn't hit it. Did you share that, or did you just like, no, I'm probably even know this, go for it again another time, right? Or maybe it was a fitness goal that you didn't follow through on. Maybe you said you were starting 75 hard and then you just kind of like slinked away, right? Like make your shit shine means that your brand is ultimately going to be all the things you're growing through. All the things you're growing through end up being your brand. Because when we sign up as a coach and they're like, you need 5 buckets. Okay, fitness is one of your buckets, but what are your other 4 buckets? And every single woman responds with, I don't have any buckets, right? But what I think we didn't realize was like coaching helps you find your buckets. Keep growing through different things and you will find your buckets. Like my marriage needs a facelift at the moment. I don't want it to be a bucket. It might be in the future, maybe, if I could get the courage to share that, right? But the first thing I'd have to do is maybe find a book on it, maybe start doing PD, like this is a bad example because I probably wouldn't share that. But the food freedom thing, right? Like I was struggling with my gut health. So I found instead of like, and honestly, I was feeling shame for constantly being a yo-yo. So I bought this food freedom book, and I'm doing a sort of like webinar in my client group every Tuesday about this particular book. Now, does everyone in my client group need this food freedom book? I don't know, but do you know who needs it? Me. And do you know the best way for me to be authentic in my business is to add value that serves me first. So whatever areas in my life I need to grow in, I would like to improve, that's where I start building my content, which is my value, which is equals my brand, right? So I think that, like, you know, a lot of people ask us all the time, like, oh man, like the sister had such a good like brand. Like, how did you build that? It's like, oh no, like we kind of got lucky with a great logo, but it really, what our brand is for Erin, it was getting through that belief of I'm too boring, I can't do this, no one would watch me, I'm too busy, I'm a full-time government worker with kids in hockey, right? And she busted through that like insanely for the world to see, you know? My brand is I was an addict, partier, yo-yo, smoker, like all those things, right? And I have genuinely grown through that. Like I actually can't even believe it. And I think one of the most important things, again, it loops back to that fixed mindset versus growth mindset, is like it took me a really long time to believe that I could actually change. Not that just that I was like, oh, coaching is the accountability you need to like do better and show up and do this. Like, yes, but if you do that long enough, you genuinely change. And then that's where the magic is. And that's where your brand becomes, because people just watched you do that. So for this category, make your shit shine, I want you to think about, don't hide your most valuable service, which is your vulnerability, right? Your vulnerability to share your growth. By not doing that, you're just sort of admitting that you don't believe you can. So in this category, I want you to think of, I want you to write down a list of things you might be struggling with in your life. Maybe it's infertility. Maybe it's just like toddler drama. You know, it doesn't have to be just anything, like literally like what causes in your life right now, and figure out how to make that shit shine. Because the people that you want to attract are probably like, about the same topic. And it's going to give you focus in your business, and it's going to come across more authentic because people are watching your journey. It's like that storytelling piece as well, right? And even using that technique, guys, if you're bored in your challenge group, so you found whatever your shit is that you want to make shine, you've picked some personal development that speaks to it, now share it. Tell your challenge, that's your invite, right? It doesn't have to be like fit for fab. It can be, this PD book is what I'm sharing in my challenge group right now, or not even challenge group, my community. If you want to get in on it, if you want to join my community, let me know. And then when they let you know, you talk about like, everyone in my community commits to a 30-minute program, and you enroll them with Beachbody, right? Like Beachbody is your vehicle, but it's not the wheels. You know, you're the wheels, and your extra value, your shit that you're going to make shine, is what's going to help you keep that going. And that's why, you know, when you finish this book and then you take a good long hard look in the mirror and you figure out what's next, that's how you keep things fresh too. Because every single month there's, or maybe not month, however long it takes you to finish that sort of series, there's something new to focus on. Okay, number 3 is get quarterly with your goals. I wrote this down, which I think is kind of funny. Jamie would not like it, but are you claiming Bora Bora and you've never been to Summit? And that's just like facts, guys, you know? If we get quarterly with our goals, I think it really forces us to be more realistic with where we're at in this business. I've had this written down somewhere. So we're halfway through Q1. Let's say your goal was to be diamond in Q1, which is doable for anybody that signed up January 1st, right? Like 3 months to be diamond, I think is aggressive, but doable. Just as a benchmark, I went diamond in 6 months. So I'm not telling you, you can, you can't, you should, you shouldn't, you know, everybody goes at different paces, and it totally depends where you start in your fitness journey and in your belief journey, you know, but it's doable. So let's say you started in Jan 1st and you had no coaches. You basically need like 8 PCs, a working coach, and a spouse, right? And then that can make you diamond. So if you're focusing on that quarterly goal, you need to break it up into those months, guys. And if you didn't enroll 3 PCs in January and you didn't enroll 3 PCs in February, or, you know, not done February, then you're not on track to hit that quarterly goal. You're not on track to hit diamond, and you might want to reevaluate. And it doesn't mean just pushing out that diamond date. It means how much time are you spending on the business? Because if you genuinely have the goal of diamond, you need to put in the work, guys. This business is front loaded. Like, the work is so, the sacrifices are so heavy in the first years. They really are, because you're not getting paid what you deserve. But that will come if you're able to put your head down, right? So break down your goal, and if you're on track, if you're not on track to be where you wanted to be at the end of Q1, I hope you set a goal for the end of Q1, then don't push your date back. Don't sit in the back office staring at it, wondering why you suck. Get out your planner and figure out how many hours a day you're working the business. And when I say working the business, I mean inviting, connecting, and following up, with connecting being that biggest piece, right? Like engaging with new followers, finding new followers, going to your posts and going to who liked your post and liking their content. Like, some of that work, and I still feel it when you're doing it, is like, oh my God, like it feels almost like scrolly, you know? But that's the work. Those are the relationships that you're building. Those are the people that are watching you and deciding if they want to put their health and fitness in your hands, right? So that's really the work that needs to be done. Getting quarterly with your goals and being realistic about it. Like, I have had a goal of 3 to 5 coaches a month pretty much since I went to NLC. At NLC, I remember Melanie Mitro stood up there and said, like, if you want to be an elite coach, you should be at SD20 every month, and you should be enrolling 3 to 5 coaches every month. And I was like, oh, I definitely am not doing that, you know? And that was my new benchmark. And it continues to serve me. And I know there are people that set huge goals to enroll way more than that. That's never served me. And one of the biggest reasons it hasn't is because I want to work this business a certain amount of hours per day, and I also want to turn it off. When my kids get home, unless it's a team call night, until they go to bed, like, I need that time with them in order to feel like I'm building a life of time freedom. That's actually the reason I'm doing this business. So if I don't then follow through and do that, it really feels like a sham. So I choose to honor that. I know if I didn't honor that and I used those hours to build this business, I could probably double and 10x, blah, 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 but that's not what I'm doing. So you got to figure out what you're doing. If 1 to 3 coaches a month might be realistic for you because you only have 1 to 2 hours a day to work this business, then let's rock and roll. Because that's a lot of coaches by the end of the month. And I bet you if you enrolled 1 to 3 coaches, which translates into like 12 to 24 coaches by the end of the year, I bet you find a rock star. Honestly, I bet you find somebody that wants to work this with you, wants to build a community, wants to make an impact, becomes a lifer, you know? That's just the numbers. I really, really, over the past bunch of years, have seen that, like, on average, guys, I only enroll, and again, Jamie probably wouldn't like me saying this, but I only enroll like 25 to 50 people a year. But I always end up finding 1 or 2 incredible women from that year, you know? And that's for me, that's what this is about. That's the magic sauce. That's what this business is about for me, is quality versus quantity. Which brings me into number 4, stop inviting everyone and get clear on who you want to work with. This is so hard. This is so much easier said than done, because when you're at SC4 and it's the end of the month and you're just inviting anybody with a pulse, been there, you know, but this business is so much better when you have the courage to invite the women that you really admire. Because when you start to invite the team that you really admire, this is like a pinch me type of job, right? When you start to go on work trips with women that you genuinely want to surround yourself with, that like honestly level you up and inspire you, that is like a pinch me job, you know? My hubby was going away on a trip recently, and like I was giving him the classic guilt trip eye rolls. Like I literally had COVID at home with both the kids, and he like escaped without it and left me alone. And I was giving him the eye rolls, like, well, I'm going to work. And I was like, yeah, sorry you don't fucking love your job, but if I was going on a work trip, I'd be pretty excited right now, you know? And I like love that, you know? If you are able to make this into an actual business for yourself, the rewards are so out of this world that you will feel like it's not a job. But on the front end, it requires so much vulnerability and growth. It requires you showing up, figuring out what your shit is, doing these programs over and over again in a more authentic way every single time, figuring out how you can grow, how you can learn more about nutrition, about fitness, about your body, figuring out, you know, what different products work with you, what don't. It's like constantly being invested in your journey. That's what's going to keep you motivated in this business. And every sort of like moment of lull, or we call it like the coach coaster, I truly believe is connected to your journey. If anybody's on the downer right now, if anybody's super low on the coach coaster, you're probably not deep into your journey, right? Because if you were waking up every single day, like kicking ass in your workout, fueling your body with incredible nutrition, like going to the grocery store to find something new and interesting and reading the labels and getting into it and like truly having that be something that you enjoy, then this business follows suit every single time. It starts and ends with you. I love that, Jen. So yeah, that didn't really answer stop inviting everyone, get clear on who you want to work with. I guess maybe it does. It's a feeling, and it's not going to be every single person, but here's the challenge. As you're expanding your network, which probably 95% of the people on this call do not do. I love to generalize, but I'm going to throw that one out there. As you're doing that, because I think you probably will do it, you know, on a Tuesday morning after a team call, right? So as you're expanding your network and you're looking at people, you do it with a judgmental eye. Like I'm saying this in the best way, but you look at somebody and you're like, do they look like my people? Do they look interesting? Is there anything on their page that I want to ask them about, or I wish I had, you know? If not, next. Like, it's not a numbers game with the connecting unless you're going to be cold messaging people. And if you're going to be doing that, good luck, right? But if you want to build like a deep business with quality women, you need to find quality women. And so look for people that look great. And I think for some reason, it's always the people that look great that we're intimidated to invite. We think they don't need this. They look like they have their shit together. They definitely don't need this, you know? But maybe they do. You can't judge somebody by how they look if they're on how they're doing in their health and wellness, right? So just get to know them and ask them a question about something on their grid. Open the conversation with zero expectation of them enrolling on your Beachbody team, right? Just get into conversation with them. And maybe even stop. This is going to get me, I don't know. I would say like stop tracking those you know, like track them once it gets to the point that like you're actually in conversation and you actually feel like this woman would be great in my community. I should invite her soon when the next opportunity feels natural, right? That's someone you track. But don't track everybody you follow. Don't track everybody you send a hey, like a welcome message to, you know? Okay, and then the last one, so we'll definitely have time for Q&A, is number 5, blinders on to build a business, blinders on to build a brand. Stop watching everybody. Like it just, I remember when I first started, I was so caught up in like coaches that knew what they were doing and were successful, like, what's your invite strategy? Like, how do you do this? Like, you know, and what I really wish I'd known was that, just like Jen said, it starts and ends with me. What I wish I'd known in the beginning was that my entire success was going to be based on my growth. My entire success as a coach was going to be based on how much I was willing to grow. Because even once the sisterhood had a good amount of coaches and stuff, I was still smoking. I was in a very dark place and I was considering quitting. And you just don't know where anybody is at in their coach journey. But if they're going to get to next year and the year after and the year after with any success, growth is required 100%. So that was my huge internal battle when I was a newer coach, was that, and I know that's why people quit. There was a girl that quit just very recently. And I know it's because she's too afraid to, for lack of a better term, lose the weight. Like, I know it. She doesn't think she can. She can't commit. She keeps failing. And it was easier to quit coaching because the accountability was too high, you know? And that makes me sad. Not because I drink the Kool-Aid, not because I think coaching's for everyone, but because I genuinely believe it can help people grow into who they need to be. It's a vehicle for that, for sure. And that made me sad to see that, like, this could have been the thing that helped her, you know, become her strongest self. So stop watching other people, because they're not going to help you. They're not going to build your brand, and they're not doing what you should do. Right? And if you need tips on how to do something, the best person to ask is Google. Because how I do it, how Kim does it, how Jen does it, how anybody else does it is so dangerous to you. Because you start doing it like them, and all of a sudden it's not like you, you know? And like, I'll even think back to my Transform 20 days. Like, I was faking workout videos to put them up because that's what I thought I needed to do as a coach, instead of owning where I was at in my journey. And I might have grown quicker if I had owned where I was at, right? Because that would have given me the accountability to get out of that funk when I needed to. Instead, I was faking where I was at for so many months that just delayed my growth. So I think number 1 and number 2 are the most important things to take away from this call. Stop doing these programs on autopilot. It's time for real, genuine growth in your life. And number 2, make your shit shine. Start to write down just what you're going through in your life right now. And find personal development and have that personal development be the core of your community for now, and then move on. That's really all I got for you guys tonight. I would love to chat, answer questions about anything. If anybody wants to ask anything. Yeah, I think it's so important for us to keep it real, you know, because this business takes so much vulnerability and growth. And when I was in that, in that sort of negative mindset about the meal plans, and I was like borderline convincing myself that like this was diet culture, it was becoming dark, right? And I really had to look in the mirror and figure out like, well, no, like, is this just a calling for me to grow? Like, what do I need to change? What do I need to do? How can I level up, right? And I think a lot of the things that as coaches we go through on the coach coaster can be done, can be grown through like that. Can I recap the first 2 points? Yeah, so the first one was stop doing these programs on autopilot. And that was just like actually growing, actually learning, actually diving into your nutrition journey instead of just like 2 purple, 1 blue, you know? About my finances. I don't remember, maybe that was on another call. How do you take that time freedom each day without feeling guilty? That guilt of I have a free minute, I should be working my business. How did you get there? I think that I stopped feeling guilty when I started being more effective with the time I had. So for me, the very first thing at the top of my day that needs to be done is my invites, or it's just not happening, or it's literally a write off for the day. So the very first thing I do is I go through my, I probably do this twice a week. I go through my story viewers, I look for new people and I send them a message like, hey, thanks for following my page. Hope you find some like inspo and smiles. Have an amazing day. I send that. And then as I'm going through my story viewers, I look for people that I've already been in conversation with and I'll invite them, you know, even if it's, I've just sent that message before, that welcome one, and they're still watching me, but they didn't respond. I'll still invite those people, you know? So I go through, I find my invites every single day at the top of the hour, at the very first thing I do. And then, you know, this planner, I'm not endorsing this planner because I don't actually think I'm going to stick with it. It's too much writing for me. It's too much filling out. But the one thing I really like about it is it's quarterly based, which I love. And it has you write down 10 goals for the month. And then each day you're writing what you can do within that goal to move it forward. And then one of the things down below is my top 3 movers today. And I love that. Like, what are my top 3 movers? So for most of the days, it's the same thing that I've written down. It's like story viewers, follow-ups, and my community. So how do I not feel guilty? I go through my story viewers, I do my follow-ups, and I'm in my community. If I've done those 3 things, which I can do in an hour or 2, then what's there to feel guilty about? Tomorrow's a new day. Like, it depends why you're doing this business, what your goals are, and where you're at, you know? It really does, because in the beginning, I worked this non-freaking stop. And like, my Bradley was 6 months, and like, I'm just the type of person that, like, you know, while I was breastfeeding, I could do that. Or, you know, when he's just playing, like, I wasn't the type of mom that was like on the floor, like, no, you know, like, I was using those hours and I was working. But then now that they're a little bit older, like, they know when I'm ignoring them, you know? So those are the times, like, I would feel more guilty if I don't take those hours with them than if I didn't, you know, or, you know what I mean? But I would guess that you're probably not just being effective enough in the hours that you actually are working, if you're feeling guilty. Go through your schedule again, because guys, like, you can't feel guilty in this business. It defeats the whole point, you know? Or one thing I was writing down a lot actually at the beginning of the year was work hard, sleep proud. Because when I work hard, I go to bed proud. I do. And I would love to say that I'm staying up super late, but at this point in coaching, I'm not. And I'm really happy with that. And maybe if I did, I could like set a way bigger goal than I have set for myself, but that's not where I'm at in my business. My goals are still huge, but I can achieve them in the hours that I'm working in the day. And I can also go to bed early so that I'm able to wake up at 4:45. Tara, I struggle with depression. It's been bad lately because I'm going through some changes. How do you Share and make your shit shine without being a drag. Sorry that you're going through that. Obviously, like, consult your doc. I hope that you're taking care of yourself and you know, taking care of the depression. Like, you don't have to fight through it, right? And you don't have to do that alone. So I hope that you're like seeking medical attention for that. But focus on your journey. Like, going through a divorce, hey girl, hey, like, sounds like a journey is ready to pop. You know, feel incredible about yourself. Like, dive head into it. Get obsessed with it. Love it. Do it for you. You know, now more than ever. That's what I would do. Used to consume myself with the business because I enjoyed it, but I no longer, yeah, you got to find balance, you know? What would you say to that person who just quit because she didn't think she could lose the weight? Oh, she wasn't my coach, so I didn't say anything because I didn't want to overstep. She was in my downline. If she had been my coach, I definitely would have pushed. Like, I will borderline offend to get to the true pain point of someone, you know, because there's been so many times in my life I wish someone did that for me. I don't know a lot of people that have been willing to be brutally honest with me. I don't have a lot of people in my life that have been willing to do that, you know? And I think that's why I've always been that person for others. Yeah, Erica. You know, ask her, like, is the pressure to get results one of the reasons that you're considering quitting? Is probably how I would say it, you know? Because for some people, they just need the belief that they can do it. And I really think that new coaches are still just our clients. They're still our clients. Just because they enroll as a coach doesn't mean they're not your client anymore. And especially those ones that you've enrolled because you said, you don't need to be at your goal weight. You can do this before you get results. Well, definitely don't abandon them now, because they still need to get results and they need coaching in order to do that, right? So for me, I've always loved to coach through my stories. Like, I don't follow up personally with people on their own journey all the time, you know, like I have a lot of different like moving pieces in my business, but I coach in my stories, right? And I show up and I try to invoke thought-provoking things like that in my stories. But definitely if someone was thinking of quitting, I would ask them that. Anybody else have any questions? This is such an awesome team, guys. And every single time we are at an event, it's just so evident, you know. I just encourage you all to do your part, because if you show up in this team and you're not authentic and you've not grown in your own journey, you've not done the work, and you're just sort of, you know, hiding behind that veil, you won't fit in. You will feel imposter. You won't feel authentic, right? So do your part. That will only help you build this business, because you will only build a big enough business to like how vulnerable you are willing to grow. And I've seen that personally. As a new coach, what have you all found to be the best platform to connect with your clients? Lives, videos, posts, doesn't matter. I think all of the above. I think stories for sure is something that proves consistency, and being in your stories all the time, I think, is sort of the call. Like, never let that bubble go. That 20, they disappear every 24 hours, always having that bubble. But mixing it up, like I started doing some lives and just to post them. I didn't know what to post that day. So I thought of something to talk about. I'll do a live, and I don't like sit around waiting for people to pop on. I just start talking right away, and then I post that to my grid, and then that's the post for the day. I wouldn't stress like reels are great for expanding your network, but if you're a brand new coach, I would focus on posts and stories and consistency and sharing your journey. One of the biggest things that I like to tell our new coaches is not to publicly invite anybody for like 30 days at least, right? To share your journey, start showing up, start sharing why you're doing this, start sharing how you're feeling while you're doing this, and build that consistency, build that trust before you start. If you just show up all of a sudden and it's like, poll, join, this, that, then it just comes across sort of salesy. Yeah, responding to people's stories is a fantastic way to connect with new people. That is a really good point, Andrea. And again, it helps you find your people, right? I had, oh my gosh, I've like had assistants here and there in my DMs that like help me with new connections. And I usually end up letting them go because it just doesn't end up feeling authentic. But I will never forget, I had this one and she responded to someone's story and was like, oh my God, your cat's adorable. Like, and asked some question about her cat. And like, I'm like a known cat hater. So I like screenshotted it and sent it to my sister. And I was like, oh my God, like, it's a bot when. Yeah, bad. All right, guys, I think let's wrap it here. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for hopping on. I would love to just remind you of the action items after this call. Number one, stop doing these programs on autopilot. Write down a little paragraph about where you're at with these programs and what needs to change and where you could grow. Number two, make your shit shine. What are you going through that you need to grow through? Because that is going to be the framework of your brand, the value that you provide, and the content for your community. Get quarterly with your goals. So what's your goal by the end of March? And then, Q2, what will be your goal for there? And, if you've said that your goal like is say 2 stars, so you can open your second CBC and say that's by, the end of the year, then making sure that you have your 1 star and your diamond all, in a row like that. So stop inviting everyone, get clear on who you want to work with. So don't just follow everybody and blinders on to build a business. This is ultimately about you. It starts and ends with you. Thanks for sharing that, Jen. I hope you guys have an amazing night, and we'll chat with you soon. Bye.